Over the past 60 days, we've seen more and more parastatals come into the media spotlight, both in news media and also in social media. So we did a 60-day analysis, this taken from 4,500 online newspapers, 2,000 print titles, and 70 radio and television stations. And we measured Eskom against water in South Africa, against the South African Post Office, and against South African Airways. And what is fascinating is between water and Eskom alone, you account for a good 80% of the media coverage. SAA coming in at 12% of the coverage, and South African Post Office surprisingly coming in at a very small amount, the balance. So what we then did was shift that to have a look at the sentiment of what was being reported about these parastatals. And Eskom accounting for the majority of negative press, no surprises there. What I did find surprising though was that water in South Africa accounts for a very large positive section of the parastatal coverage. In fact, they come in with very little negative press. South African Post Office also comes in with a great deal of negative press over that 60-day period. When we look at SAA though, SAA is quite big in comparison to everything else out there that we've studied. So it prompted us to then do an analysis of the airline industry. And what we did was we looked at domestic flight providers here in South Africa. So we measured South African Airways against Mango Airlines, Kulula, and FlySafair, the new domestic airline. And we know that SAA has been in the news quite a bit. We've seen a whole bunch of allegations about mismanagement and a couple of resignations from senior people, a change in agency, a set of retrenchments come through the books, and government funding for the organization. So we did anticipate that SAA would have a great deal of the press, but certainly didn't anticipate this level of the share of voice. They account for 74% of the news media over a 60-day period against their competitors in the same market space. What is interesting is a lot of that is positive. In fact, from a positive to negative ratio, about 4 times more positive than there is negative press to say about SAA. And that, from a Media Monitor perspective, was really interesting, because what I'm reading on the other side as a receiver or a consumer of news sounds quite negative, but it seems that SAA are really trying from a PR perspective to put out a lot more positive messages through to the media space.